All right, welcome. I'm filming this before work, so I'm a little tired, but don't mind that. It'll probably post while I'm at work. But we got to talk about the Noah Hanifiin trade. It went through officially as soon as I got into bed, because I got to work today. So there's that. But let's talk about it. It's kind of exciting. I have had a lot of caffeine, so I'm trying to work through this. The Flames end up trading Noah Hannafin, top pairing left hand shot defenseman. They trade him. They retain 50% of his salary. The Flames do. They trade him to the Philadelphia Flyers, right? And the Flyers take him and retain half of that salary remaining. So they retain 1.237,500. And then that gets moved to the Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights have a cap hit, or they have Noah Hannafin at a cap hit of 1,237,500. Still early, man. Hannafin, 61 games played this year, 11 goals, 24 assists, 35 points. He's a plus 13. Pretty solid two-way defenseman. Can be pretty shut down in his own zone from most of the time. I like Hannafin. I think he's pretty solid in both ends of the ice. He's also 6'3". He's not a little guy. Where is this? I just had this up. 6'3", 215 pounds. So he can throw hits, be a little physical if you need him to. He's got a decent reach. We see a lot of teams in the playoffs make runs with a big, solid defensive core behind them in the back end. So definitely a solid pickup for Vegas. Vegas also gets Mikhail Vorobyov. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Flyers draft pick years ago. He played out his entry-level contract in Philadelphia, went back to the KHL. Philadelphia has maintained the signing rights to Mikhail Vorobyov. Again, I hope I'm saying that right. But, he's doing pretty well in SKA St. Petersburg, I believe, with the KHL. He's a center. He has 41 points in 60 or 62 games or something like that, which is pretty solid for that league. It's solid production. Seems to be a 200-foot player. But again, I haven't watched this guy too much. I can barely say his name. So there's that. I don't think he'll come to the U.S., but nonetheless, rights are now Vegas property. And if he does come to the U.S., that could be a sneaky pickup for Vegas as well because he's a pretty solid player. All right. So that's what the Golden Knights got. The Flyers, for retaining half of that salary, get a 2024 fifth-round pick from Vegas. That's for this year's draft. I couldn't find any conditions on that, so nothing too exciting. Probably going to be a potentially later fifth-round pick. Knights probably should make the playoffs, right? So you're already talking about bottom half of the draft. Flames, though, again, they give up this big premier defenseman. What do they get in return? They get a 2025 first-round pick from the Vegas Golden Knights. That pick is top 10 protected. But here's the weird thing. If the Golden Knights trade this pick, this first-round pick, next year's draft's first-round pick, by March 10th, which is after the trade deadline, just a couple days, right? Then this becomes the following year, 2026 first-round pick. So that's a little weird. I don't know, but what else we got? We got the 2025 third-round pick from the Vegas Golden Knights as well. That becomes a second-round pick if the Vegas Golden Knights win one playoff round. It's fairly likely they'll do so. It depends where they end up in the standings and who their first-round matchup is going to be. But we know this team is built for the playoffs. They are building up. They're making moves to make a run in the playoffs. Hannafin, big defenseman. Anthony Mantha, more of a power forward, depth, 20-goal scorer type thing. So they're making a good case as to why you should pick them to win a round in the playoffs. So my opinion is it's more likely than not this becomes a first and a second round pick in 2025 from Vegas. But we'll see. Half the teams lose in the first round, so it's 50-50 shot. They also get Daniel Miramanov. Miramanov, up and down, well, all three from Vegas. Miramonov's been up and down the NHL, AHL, spends a lot of time with the Henderson Silver Knights, the AHL affiliate of Vegas Golden Knights. He's all right. Sizable defenseman, I believe. What's he, a right shot? I'm not even on the right page. Yep, right shot defenseman, 6'4", a little over 200 pounds. So a big guy, Russian. He's 26, so we'll see. Sometimes it takes defensemen a little longer to develop. So still be patient with that. Seems to be more of a defensive defenseman, but puts up points like no one's business in the AHL. So I don't know. I haven't seen him play too much. I think I've only caught like 2 or 3 games with him actually playing. I thought he was decent, but I think he still had to work. This was like a couple of years ago. He still had to work on some of his defensive aspects to the game. He'd get beat around the rush or be caught slightly out of position, leads to a goal against type thing. But overall, like I like him. If you want him in your NHL lineup, I think it would be a good spot for him. I don't think it would hurt, especially as a third pairing defenseman. So I kind of like that pickup. Definitely no Noah Hanifiin. He's not going to be Noah Hanifiin. Probably not going to be a top 4 defender. He might be, but I think you're looking at a solid third pairing defenseman here. The real takeaways are the first and potentially second round picks for the Flames. They retain salary. Golden Knights really bumping up, trying to make that push. So I think it's a solid move. Again, these 3-team trades, I don't necessarily think there's really has been any losers thus far. Golden Knights get what they need and potentially a Russian center if they decide to come over to the U.S. and sign. He's pretty solid. The Flyers, being a bit of a broker, get a pick in exchange, trade out a signing rights, make a little room on that. And the Flames get kind of a haul back for Noah Hanifiin. Would you like to see more of a defensive or a NHL-ready player? Sure. Or maybe a highly touted prospect? Sure. But overall, it's not a bad deal for the Flames. I do think the Flames could have got more for both Hanifiin and Tanev, but for the most part, excuse me, I think they did pretty well. They also got a bunch of picks, which, remember, they don't have to be used. They can be bundled up and traded to another team for a usable asset to replace or enhance your team as is. So, not too bad. The Flames have now retained salary on Noah Hanifiin and Chris Tanev. $2.475 million retained on Noah Hanifiin. $2.25 retained on Chris Tanev. Flyers, with the retention of Noah Hanifin's 25% of his salary, they now have 6.92 in dead salary cap money. It's building up. They have 2 retained salaries, one being Kevin Hayes for the next 2 years after this at just under 3.5 million, I think. And they also have 3 buyouts. One's technically Ilya Brizgalov, which has no cap hit, but you got Tony DeAngelo and I forget who else they bought out, but it's on their cap friendly. I could just pull it up right now. Is this the Flyers? Oscar Lindbaum. So he'll come off the books this year. DeAngelo will come off the books at the end of next year. So yeah, that's the Flyers. Golden Knights, they still have $3.8 million in cap space to make deadline moves. You just saw them get Noah Hanifiin at the cost of $1.2375 million. So they might not be done yet. I'm not entirely sure who or what they add. So it'll be interesting to see. They might add a little more grit in the bottom 6. I'm not entirely sure. But I might do a video on kind of the use of LTIR by various teams approaching the trade deadline and kind of how LTIR, long-term injury reserve, for those that don't know, is kind of monitored and managed by the NHL. My knowledge is somewhat limited. I have a good amount of knowledge, but I'm still gonna have to do a little research. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure if I'll do that yet. But technically, according to the CBA, Vegas is playing the game appropriately. This is what we saw the Tampa Bay Lightning do, and it would surprise me if Vegas made another big move. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they made another move. Maybe fill out again. Maybe like a bottom 6 forward or a depth defenseman or something. So we'll see. One of many. We still have about 24 hours until the trade deadline, more than 24 hours. Maybe close to the 24 hours when this posts. I'm going to schedule this for I don't know, probably the afternoon. All right, that's all I got. I got to stop drinking coffee and get to work. I appreciate you guys. Take care, all right?